Hey, what's up with it? It's your boy, Dion Hudson, coming at you again, straightforward and direct, with another one like the other one, but just a little bit different, right? So, the subject matter right now is diplomatic immunity. What do you guys know about diplomatic immunity? How important is diplomatic immunity? And what do you know about the roles that diplomats play around the world? So, you know, there's this saying, we can handle this like men, or we can handle this like G's and get on some gangster shit, right? So when we say handle it like men, what do we mean? Well, let's talk things over. Let's communicate. Let's get to know each other. Let's find common grounds. Um, let's see how we can help each other create a win-win situation, right? So the role that a diplomat plays is like he's like, okay, he's trying to handle it like a man, okay? And where diplomats fail is where militaries come in. And when two countries can't get along or two organizations can't get along, then that's when, they got to get on some gangster shit. And this means that the militaries get involved. And that means that it's collateral damage back and forth, right? So a diplomat's role is very important because a diplomat can be the difference between peace and war, life and death, right? So let's talk about this whole thing called diplomatic immunity. So diplomatic immunity, the general definition of what diplomatic immunity is it's the protection that's given to diplomats. Okay? It's the protection that's given to diplomats, how diplomats are protected. All right? So it's like hands off. Do not touch these people. They're here, they're protected, not only by their government, but they're protected by the government that they're operating in. Okay, so they have immunity, right? And it goes a little deeper than what I'm saying. But what I want you guys to reflect on is that there's a deeper meaning, a more universal meaning to this whole thing called diplomatic immunity. Now, from a, when we're speaking on diplomatic immunity, we're speaking on it from a political perspective, from a government perspective. You know, that's the original meaning of what diplomatic immunity is. But what I want you guys to do is step outside the box and let's really get into this deeper meaning of what diplomatic immunity means on a social level, on a practical level, between two people, between two organizations, right? What does diplomatic immunity mean? So, first and foremost, a diplomat is someone who negotiates with someone else for the sole purpose of establishing a relationship, a rapport, uh, standing on common grounds, coming together, trying to figure out how you guys can work it out and doing everything possible to prevent the outbreak of a war, an armed conflict, you know, uh, a street fight, you know, gang banging. Okay. It's all the same, right? So these are the many ways that men have proven to handle their disagreements. These are the many ways that men have proven to deal with conflicts, and this is how these conflicts have been resolved through many acts of violence. So, a diplomat's role is very important. So, but here's the thing: there's an immunity that's out this world. There's a protection that you can have that's out this world, right? And when you have the skill to communicate, and you can communicate effectively, and along with that skill, you also possess the art of persuasion. And you have within yourself the ability to persuade people to see things your way. You know how to use your words, right? In order to persuade other people to see things your way. And when you have this skill, you can build a wall of protection. Okay. You can build a wall of protection, and this protection is immunity. It's just like the immunity that a body has that helps it fight off a disease. It's called immunity. Okay. When you have this ability to fight a disease off, that's called immunity. So diplomats, someone who's diplomatic, someone who understands the whole art of diplomacy, right? They can put protection on themselves just by their ability to communicate. They can get things done just by their ability to communicate, knowing what to say, how to say it, right? Diplomacy goes a long way. If you're in a civilized society that's governed by authorities on each side, you turn the street, there's an authority. You turn the street here, there's an authority, right? When you're living in a police state, diplomacy is like your best tool to get things done because diplomacy is the only thing that's actually accepted. Do you know how to talk to people? Do you know how to communicate with them? Do you know how to find common grounds? Do you know how to resolve conflicts in a peaceful way? Right? If you truly do possess this skill, then the sky's is the limit when it comes to what you can do on a social level. So the diplomatic immunity that I'm speaking on is the protection that one can build around themselves on a social level just based on their ability to effectively communicate. I'm going to say it again. The diplomatic immunity that I'm speaking on right now is the protection, that wall that one can build around themselves to protect themselves just based on their ability to effectively communicate, right? Using their words as tools, making friends with people who serve an important purpose in your life, even though you know that they may have bad characteristics or things about them that you might not all the way agree with. But you being a diplomat, knowing how to communicate, knowing how to find those common grounds, you know what to say, how to say it in order to effectively achieve what you're trying to achieve. So it gives you immunity. You're immune to a lot of stuff just based on your ability to communicate. So the key skill that a diplomat possesses is his or her ability to communicate. So now it's going to take us to this thing called what is effective communication. I see it more often than none. Most people have a hard time staying on target. They have a hard time staying on the subject matter when you're communicating with someone. The easiest thing to do is to detour and speak about something else other than what the subject matter is. I challenge people out there. Speak on the subject matter for a whole hour without detouring or deviating from what the subject is. You can't speak on nothing else except for the subject matter itself. You have to stay on target. You would be surprised to realize just how hard that is for most people. Most people find that to be very hard just to stay on target, okay? But in order to be an effective communicator, you have to stay on target, okay? And if you can't be an effective communicator, you can't be a diplomat, you can't be diplomatic about something, then how can you even begin to understand this whole thing called diplomatic immunity, right? Diplomatic immunity can be very beneficial for someone who understands that when you're living in a state, a police state, a divided state, where people are divided, different classes, different cultures, different ways of seeing things, the art of diplomacy, that ability to bring about diplomatic immunity is a strength that can't no one take away from you but yourself.